Just a heads up, folks, because this is more of a speculative idea and not so much about a specific show or moment in history, this video will have fewer graphics and imagery than my usual content, so feel free to sit back, rest your eyes, and just have a listen this time around. Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that some people just don't want you to play the game. For anybody out there who's confused by the title of this video, here's a quick recap. In 2019, WWE began worrying about a new startup company that, under the right circumstances, could be the closest thing that they've had to competition since the Attitude Era. To counter this new Jacksonville-centered promotion, who had just scored a primetime cable TV slot on Wednesdays, WWE announced that their developmental and previously WWE Network exclusive brand, NXT, would also find its way to the Hump Day schedule at the same time slot. NXT and AEW would battle nearly every week for almost 18 months before the USA Network decided to move NXT to Tuesdays in hopes of better viewership numbers in 2021. When all was said and done, AEW would beat NXT in ratings 63 out of the 75 weeks that the two went head-to-head. Despite building its own reputation, rumors had spread that WWE executives had considered NXT a liability as it had failed to put an end to the All Elite problem. This sadly would be the high point when it comes to NXT in 2021. As summertime rolled around, word had gotten out that Vince McMahon personally visited the Performance Center in order to grade the developmental talent. In the fall, we would hear that Triple H was no longer heading the Black and Yellow brand, and after NXT dropped the Black and Yellow altogether, the world would find out that Triple H had experienced a medical emergency and was removed from his duties altogether. And then, of course, there's been the complete purge of NXT talents. While the claim during these now almost monthly firing sprees has been that these firings were budget-related, a common thread amongst many of them are that the people being let go tended to be the names that Triple H either scouted, hired, pushed, or recommended for promotion to the main rosters. From Aleister Black to the remnants of the Wyatt family, whether you were limitless or your talent was undisputed, it's felt like if Triple H endorsed you, your days were numbered. Even stars who got the okay to debut on the main rosters were getting canned, before the ink on their new contracts was even dry. Budget cuts. Now a lot of these names are being paid to sit at home for 90 days rather than the 30 if they had just stayed on NXT deals. I bet the only department stressing over these budget cuts more than the video game developers at 2K are the number crunchers in accounting. There are few voices who could get through to Vince McMahon and make him change his mind if he had a bad idea. Is Triple H no longer one of them? NXT was his baby. It was his pet project. It was his company. He was given free rein to hire nearly whoever he wanted and put on a weekly show that he produced and wrote for. He got WWE Network specials. His stars even dominated a Survivor Series a couple years back so that they would seem legitimate contenders and on par with Raw and SmackDown. Now that his power is gone, his show has been completely retooled, the takeovers are history, seemingly all the work that he put in towards the women's revolution. And yeah, I do mean the work that he put in, not the work Stephanie takes the credit for. All of it has been reverted back to short popcorn segments and death spots on the main shows. Save for a handful of early NXT successes like Seth Rollins and Big E, much of what Triple H has built in the last 10 years has been completely reversed or erased entirely. Hell, we'd have no idea if he was even still on speaking terms with McMahon if not for a TikTok video showing Vince and Trips doing a walkthrough of the new WWE headquarters. But a question has come up, especially with the rebranding of NXT and the shutdown of Ring of Honor. If Triple H's voice and opinions just don't matter anymore, should he just leave the WWE? You know, just pack up and rebuild his reputation on his own like Shane McMahon did in '09. Unlike many of McMahon's executives, Triple H has family ties. He gave Vince grandchildren, so could and should Triple H pack up and start over knowing he could come back? You would think the idea here is just another preposterous pitch from armchair general managers on Twitter, along the lines of, well, what if Stone Cold jumped to TNA? But in the 21st century, nobody is locked to their job for life anymore. Despite Triple H being with the company for 25 years, if he has no duties and no influence to speak of, then why should he stay? Vince can't fire him from the family after all. It's not like Vince is gonna exile Stephanie or the children. Paul Levesque could finally operate his own super-indy. Wrestlers would undoubtedly jump at the opportunity to work for him knowing the man's pedigree, so to speak, and that eventually would lead to open doors for their careers as well. Of course, there are a few problems with that concept. First, TV. If Trips were to either start a new company or buy an existing one, he'd have no large-scale TV deal, as NBC is tied to the WWE, Time Warner has AEW, and Sinclair, well, even though Sinclair has WoW, let's be real, they're just not going to be interested. Without a big TV deal bringing in tens of millions of dollars per year, no company can be expected to last very long. Remember, Jeff Jarrett's first version of TNA nearly went under before Panda Energy stepped in, and they continued to lose money for over a decade. When Jarrett tried to start over again with Global Force, he couldn't get on TV, and the green brand was dead on arrival. The man tried to sell a pyramid scheme. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean Global Force Gold. That, of course, does take us to our second point, money. Triple H has an estimated value, a personal wealth of about $150 million. Of course, a majority of that is WWE stock. That means that he would have to sell almost all of his stock to even begin attempting a startup or to purchase an existing company like Ring of Honor. If Triple H goes with a startup, he now has to buy rings, he now has to buy equipment and cameras. He'd still have to worry about the rent for buildings and touring and contracts. If he picked up an existing brand like Ring of Honor, most of his money is going to go to just prying the rights away. That's going to leave him nothing for actually signing contracts. Of course, money runs the world, which means he would have to rely on investors. And then he would have to hope to hell that those investors would let him have as much control as he wants. But who's gonna give him that? Especially seeing how NXT turned out. Whether these suits would be big wrestling fans or huge on details, what they're gonna see is that his show tanked in the ratings. His show was moved. His show was rebranded, and he was relieved of his duties, all while being employed by the biggest company in the industry. He can't do it by himself because there's a third valuable point that a lot of the IWC here is missing. That third point, Triple H is not unemployed. He wasn't future endeavored. Johnny Ace hasn't told him, "Sorry kid, budget cuts." Paul Levesque is still currently the chief operating officer in the WWE. He wasn't removed from his duties because of incompetence with NXT. He was removed due to medical emergency. As we've seen on TikTok, he's back at work. He has serious responsibilities as number 2 in the company behind the CEO himself. Stepping down means goodbye $2 million a year salary and stock options, with no replacement income in place to, pay his wrestlers or start a company. So let's put this to bed right now. No, Triple H would not be better off leaving the WWE to start his own indie or to save Ring of Honor. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at what happened when he got his hands on Evolve. They're dead and gone now. And even if he could walk away, he absolutely shouldn't. This is going to be an old trope, but nobody strikes oil on the first try. Hell, even Triple H's wrestling career didn't amount to giant success on the first try. I will talk about this more on another day, but do you really think that the WWE was Vince McMahon's first major investment? He had a load of failed businesses outside of the Fed, and I don't just mean the XFL in 2001 or the XFL in 2020. Trips will get more chances. And if anything, I'm gonna bet the changing of the guard in NXT will ultimately improve his status with the company. As long as his heart keeps up, Vince is gonna continue mentoring him to be the man who takes over not just the company, but the business itself as wrestling's flag bearer. What happened to NXT sucks. Frankly, it never should have gone to 2 hours or gone to the USA Network in the first place. But Triple H got a life lesson on what happens when you try to expand too much too fast. At least he still has his family, he still has his job, he still has a future, and eventually he will get his his pencil again. Of course, this is all just my opinion though, and I do want to ask you, where do you stand when it comes to Triple H in 2021? With his baby now in the hands of Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn, do you think that he should pull a Shane and just leave the WWE for a while? Would he be an asset for another promotion trying to break through to that next level? Or would he be better off going back to business as usual and just trying again later? Do you think that he'll eventually get NXT back? Or will this lead to him finally getting a chance with the main brands? Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so I want to thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time. I'll catch you next time. yeah, I'm bad at that.